You guys today the third chapter, chapter 3 of the book of Daniel. Just give me a couple of seconds, or give you guys a couple of seconds to log in because there's no one on yet. There we go, and that's that. Okay, we have here chapter 3 of the book of Daniel. I am doing this fairly late today. Didn't have the time for the last couple of hours to just sit down and start this. So here we are. The passages include the image of gold, Daniel's friends disobey the king, saved in fiery trial, Nebuchadnezzar praises God. And Daniel chapter 3, passage 1, the image of gold. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. And King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Sorry guys, my audio is not working as well. Okay, let me try that again. So, Daniel chapter 3, passage 1, the image of gold. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. And King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all of the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, in symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace." So at that time, when all people heard the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, in symphony, I think it's lyre, in symphony with all kinds of music, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the gold image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Therefore at the time certain Chaldeans came forward and accused the Jews. They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "O king, live forever. You, O king, made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the gold image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast in the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, in a rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? Now, if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. So that was the second passage. And the passage title was Daniel's Friends Disobey the King. Now, the third passage, Saved in Fiery Trial. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning furnace, exceedingly hot. The flame of the in the fiery furnace, midst of the fiery furnace. Hold on a second. They were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, "Oh, true, O king." "Look," he answered, "I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." Okay, often the phrase Son of God is used regarding um, angels in the Bible, and I think in some cases it also refers to Jesus. So there is mixed understanding or mixed um, beliefs on what it might have been or who it might have been that was in the fiery furnace with these 3 men. Some believe it was an angel, others believe it was the pre-incarnated Jesus Christ. So either or, God sent to save Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the fire. Passage 4, Nebuchadnezzar praises God. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mount of the burning fiery furnace and spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came from the midst of the fire, and the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw these men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their heads was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him, and they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Hello, hello, hello. Um, Thank you guys for listening. I think here some of you are celebrating Happy Thanksgiving, Noel. It is American Thanksgiving, right? Happy Thanksgiving to all of my American friends on here. Hope you guys having a wonderful holiday season right now. You too, Noel. Have a blessed day. And that's a interesting name. Baldy Head? Baldy Head? Is that what that is? 115. And hello, King Crystal. Name a car for an edit. Huh. Porsche 911 GT. Or actually, I like the classics, and I'd probably say like a 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner. That's a good car for an edit. Um, yeah, that was definitely my favorite. Not that I've ever seen one in person. I've only had the models, the tiny little Hot Wheels models in the past, but yeah, and I've seen it in pictures and stuff. So the 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner in a purple and like a violet, that is the most beautiful car. Okay. So I'm gonna just do a little bit of a conversation on this. So this is basically like I think we live in a era where a lot of people tend to compromise their faith or get really lukewarm about their faith because of very simple pressures. I mean, especially in the Western world, if you're in the United States or Canada and you find like, I think the US is doing a little better than Canada, you find a lot of people in Canada tend to even hide the fact that they believe in, you know, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they don't really open their mouth and say anything about Jesus. They tend to hide their faith a lot or just be very passive about their, belief in Jesus and their relationship with God. And I've noticed that even churches have gotten very lukewarm to a point where they're not even preaching the word for word as much. Not all churches, obviously. There are still many good churches, but some churches have folded and have gone into that place where they've started to worship the quote unquote golden image, right? Um, which is like, I'm only speaking figuratively in that represents in modern days many things, like whether it's culture, whether it's, anything that's non-biblical or worldliness of any sort, celebrity culture, all of that stuff, right? There's so many things I can mention here, but I'm not even going to go into making that list. But the great thing is that um, this book really shows what it's like these when individuals truly take a stand for God. Like, I don't know if any of you have heard that there has been this mass um, genocide in Nigeria of the Christian people by a certain group in the north, and it's been happening since 2009.